Institute under the Home Ministry in India. Along with this, he holds a huge experience of 22 years in EHS, that is all industrial experience. So, with such an eminent speaker with us on board today, we are really excited for the session. Welcome, Mr. Suvek.
Thank you.
So, before we start, I would like to put few questions to Mr. Suvek. Mr. Suvek, I would like to understand that in the recent past, we have seen few incidents happening related to industrial safety. So, what do you think? Were these incidents preventable? Was the fire thing that we have seen that has caused a lot of damage to the society as well as to the plant as well as to the human life? Was that preventable? What steps should be taken while going ahead when we are, in such kind of a situation? If there is a lockdown or there is a long kind of a break in the industrial production, what steps should be taken in mind?
Yeah, thank you. So let me answer your question first. See, it is true that the incidents are happening regularly, and we can also see that during this COVID period, there were few incidents. But I think there are few things which we should take care. Number one, and the most important is in the process industry. The most important thing is their proper shutdown, their proper startup. So I think that part may be missed. I'm not sure, but that is an important factor because during shutdown, they may not have taken certain steps or the process which should be followed for certain shutdown. That is one part. Second part is, say, there is the most important thing in any health and safety or fire safety everywhere. The most important is the hazard identification and its mitigation.
Right.
So, what may have happened or what is happening is whatever hazards and assessment, whatever we did earlier or before this COVID period, we should definitely review those all the hazard identification techniques, their processes, because whatever was earlier, that may not be today. That may have definitely changed now. So I
Right.
think that is an important part, and that hazard identification part we should again review, and then we should go ahead. That's it.
Right, Mr. Suvek. So I'm handing over the stage to you. All the best for your session.
Okay. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Lenu. Thank you,
Welcome. You're welcome.
Enviroscape, for giving me this opportunity to share my views. As Lenu mentioned, my name is Suvek Salankar, and I'm basically a fire engineer from National Fire Service College, Nagpur, with other safety diploma, NIBOSH, and other things. So, and of course, I have 22 years of experience uh, into various industries, from refinery to process industry to manufacturing. And now I'm with Rustamji, which is a construction industry based at Mumbai, and heading their fire and safety department. So that's all from my brief introduction. So, what is the topic? The topic today I'm covering is significant fire safety factors related to building performance. Now, if you see this topic, definitely I'm talking about fire safety factors, and the other one is building performance. So, in this topic, see, if we talk about fire safety, uh, we can divide it into various ways. But one of the definition or one of the means to this classify it is it can be classified into software and hardware. Now, what is software and what is hardware? Software means where human intervention is required. Means whatever we are doing, maybe training, maybe different SOPs, maybe on-site emergency plan. So wherever this human intervention is required, that's the software part. And what is hardware part is uh, the it is something about the infrastructure of that particular premises or building or industry. So this is a hardware part. And today I'm talking precisely on only hardware part, because that is also very important, that what should be required for the premises for the building. That is one part. Second one is related to building, and to be precise, it is for the high rise buildings, because today high rise building is increasing, the fire incidents are increasing, and building is also a part of any industry. So I think building fire safety is very important in today's scenario. This is one. I will trying to correlate or just try to correlate these things with National Building Code 2016, because that is the guideline for us. And at least we should know what is required as per National Building Code, and whatever is National Building Code, that is again taken by the respective development control rules. So I think that is very important. But before going ahead, now we talk about high-rise building. So we should know also the what is the definition of high-rise building, because we use this word very regularly. Tall building, high-rise building, super tall building. So all those words are there. What is high-rise building? That is also first very important. So let me clear it to you. Uh, See, if we see National Building Code, the definition is the building with a height of 15 meter and above, high-rise building. Uh, this is for which from the National Building Code point of view. The other thing is that we have various development control rules, and they have their own definitions. So somewhere Mumbai it is 24 meters, Delhi it is 22 meters, somewhere it is 25 meters. It depends on their infrastructure. But national level it is 15 meter and above. That is a definition of high-rise building. Then outside India, across the globe, the definition again it is different. Now the International Building Code and the national this NFPA, they said it is 75 feet. So it is again 23, 24 meters. So they have their own definitions. But for us, if we follow National Building Code, it is 15 meter and above. So that is the definition of high-rise building. Now let us go ahead with the presentation. Uh, this is some data for you. Now this is the situation is very alarming. See, India, it is number one in deaths due to fire. So this is very alarming. We are means number one as far as death is concerned because of fire. Now, frequency of fire is more as compared to the extreme events. Means whatever extreme events we have, the frequency of fire is definitely more. So that is also alarming. Now, this outside India also, if you see US, now there is a data from 2013 to 2017. The average civilian death is 2620. And if we compare this death with the natural calamities in 2018, it is 355. So we can simply correlate between 2620 and 3555, means 355. So days are much, much more. Now, if you see few surveys, as per India's survey, the risk of fire is 10th in 2019, but in 2018 it was third. So of course this is somewhat good sign, but I cannot say that fire is this risk is reducing. Maybe some other risk may have uh, increased. That may be the reason. But if you see in 2018, the fire was third most prominent risk for business operations. Now in India also, if you see in 2016, total 16,695 fire deaths, fire incidents were there, and the deaths was almost 17,000 as compared to the injuries of almost 1,000. Now, see, in fire, one thing is very uh, surprising, or it is something different from other incident. That if fire is there, the number of deaths will be always more as compared to number of injuries. You can see the numbers. If you see the injuries, it is 998, 998. But if you see the deaths, it is almost 17,000. So if something is happened or some fire is there, then the fire, the death number of fire is all number of deaths are always more as compared to number of injuries. Now let us start this presentation with small case study. Now this everybody know, this is Shila incident. The coaching classes incident in Surat happened in last year, I think in May. So you can see this photographs. This is a building. You can see this is a building. The coaching class is here. The fire you can see at the back side. This staircase is somewhere in the back side only. This is temporary structure. The students were in this particular structure. So this is one part. Now see you the next picture. You can see the two pictures. Again, I'm not going to discuss here that what who is was there any issues or whatnot. But from hardware point of view, as I told you, software and hardware. From the hardware point of view, see you can see in the first picture, first photo, the actual fire. You can see this fire started somewhere at the bottom, and it is directly traveling to the topmost terrace. So you can see this, the fire is at the bottom and it is traveling directly to the terrace without disturbing the middle floors. This is first photo. Now you can see the second photo. What you can see here is the framework of the some banner. Now this photo is the photo which was taken after the fire. Now what I intend to tell you here is there was a banner normally there for the building. So there was a banner. Now the fire was somewhere at the bottom, and because of this banner, it's directly spread from the top floor without even disturbing the middle floors. Now the staircase was somewhere here only. So people who were there, the students who were there, they could not use the staircase, and then whatever happened, everybody know that. So there was a loss of almost 22 students. So what I meant to say here is when we do any addition or modification to the building or anything, means whatever modification, they just put the banner here. So whenever those people this put this banner, so they must have thought about their look factor, means how to from publicity point of view, what was good, but they never definitely thought of about fire safety. Now staircase is from this side. This that was at this side only. So again the same thing. They only put the banner but nothing else. So there were incidents, much more incidents in India and outside India, but some this fire safety is maybe because of its frequency or maybe whatever reasons, but that never is taken care. So this is again few clips, the same clip, the Surat fire. Now there are various incidents. Means I have this news. Means whatever this is again the shopping center in Mumbai and much more. Means this we have various things. But the important thing is what we learn from this particular incidents. That is a question mark. So let us start with the presentation now. What is the aim of fire safety? See, ultimately, the aim of fire safety is to provide and maintain safe environment to reduce the fire risk, personal injuries, properties, and business losses. That is our ultimate aim. But to achieve this aim, what we have to do or what is our objective? First one is to control fire ignition and its development in early stages, control of flame spread, control of smoke and toxic gases to help the occupants escape. Because most importantly, any fire, the property, we have to save the property. That is 100% okay. But more than that, the human loss is important. So there should not be anything where the occupants cannot escape, or their lives is more important. So the occupant escape and provide sufficient structural stability. It's also important because if fire is severe, then it is not only about the property damage; it is about the lose of structural stability of that particular building is also important. Now, again, the same thing: fire safety measures, hardware and software. I think we discussed this. Hardware is physical system incorporated with the building, and software is direct or indirect influence of human on the fire safety. So we are trying to cover only hardware part here. This is a very important slide, and my presentation will be on this slide only. Now see, uh, this is a small building or this is a building. Now what important factors are there? There must be a fire hazard, number one. Now because of this fire hazard, there is a fire incident. And because of this fire incident, what we required is proper fire safety measures. What is a hardware, and that is very clearly mentioned in National Building Code of India. So we are trying to cover these three parts. What is that? Fire hazard, the fire incident, and fire safety measures. Now, when we talk about fire hazards, there are two things. First is fuel, means whatever is burning. Now, that may be anything. That may be anything. In building, that may be some wooden part. In industry, that may be some gases or some combustible oil, flammable oil. So that may be anything. That depends on the that particular industry or building. So that is one part. Second part is source of ignition, because for fuel to ignite, what is important is source of ignition. This is simple fire triangle. That is the basic of fire, the sides of fire triangle. So out of that two, air we are not discussing. The second part is fuel, what is burning. The third part is source of ignition. That is one. Now, if fire incident is there, then what is the consequence of fire incident? Definitely, human loss will be there, property loss will be there, environmental loss will be there, and apart and above all, the reputation of that particular industry that will be there. So this is about fire incident. Now coming to fire safety measures. See, when we talk about fire safety measures, it is briefly divided into four parts. First is fire prevention. The other part is life safety measures. The third part is active fire protection system. And the fourth one is passive fire protection system. These are very important things. This slide covers almost all the aspects of fire safety. Means what we should take care. I think this slide is very important, and I'm going to elaborate. I'm going to discuss on this particular slide only. Okay. Now coming to fire hazard. Now, as I mentioned, basically it is a combination of fuel and source of ignition. Now, all those factors present in the building that can cause ignition, that aggravate fire severity, incapacitate the building fire safety provisions, hamper rescue, obstruct firefighting operations. So all those ignition part. Now, what are those ignition? That may be flames, that may be heater or hot gases, that may be static electricity, that may be some chemical reaction, electrical malfunctioning, fireworks, sabotage. So it is very simple to understand. Whatever the source of ignition is, whatever can start fire, that is source of ignition. That may be in the form of naked flames, that may be some electrical short circuit. All those things are sources of ignition. Now, after sources of ignition, the fire severity can be aggravated by available ventilation, because ventilation also plays an important role. And the other one is combustible material. Now, what will be the combustible material? You can just imagine in any building, maybe some storage of combustible materials, rubbish material, flammable material, What is flammable gases? This liquefied petroleum gas, paints, natural gas, whatever. Then the materials producing toxic smoke on combustion, the combustible building components such as wooden material, timber, composite of panel, maybe concrete. So it is not only about the material which are there in the building. It is equally important that how that building is constructed, what material they have used. So that is also important. So this is about the fire hazards. Then the next one is fire incidents and the consequence of fire incidents. So those may be, see, when you talk about the fire losses, let me just tell you something about this behavior of fire. See, fire can be divided into two parts. One is pre-flashover. You can see here pre-flashover, and the other one is post-flashover. Now, what flashover? Flashover means a sudden increase in temperature. Sudden increase in temperature, that is, and then the resulting heat. Then that is flashover. Now, before flashover, that stage is very, very harmful for the human being. Several toxic gases releases which are extremely harmful. Now, what are those these gases? That may be carbon monoxide, that may be hydrogen cyanide, that may be phosgene gas. But all these gases depends on the material which are burning. But all those are very harmful. Now, smoke also contains small soot particles and toxic vapors. This is the reason there are more fires due to smoke than burning itself. So you must have heard that in fire, the smoke is major contributor for the deaths of the people. It's not because of actual fire, actual flame, heat, but it is the smoke which is major culprit in any fire incident. So this is one part. The second one is smoke and hot gases obscure and hinder the escape routes, because important thing is to escape, to evacuate the building or any premises. And if smoke is there in the escape route, then it is very difficult for people to escape. So that is also a major contributor as far as life safety is concerned. And the one more part is oxygen reduction level. Means this reduction in oxygen level, because what happened whenever they release it, the fire release carbon monoxide, and even carbon dioxide. The oxygen level is coming down, and because of that, and I can see almost at 6%. Is normal oxygen in air is 21%. We can breathe, we can live very properly. But if it is around 6%, then that can cause. Now I'm this is only 6%, because in between also there is very uncomfortable situation for the human being. But at 6%, it is the death. So this is about the human loss. Now about the property damage. What happened? Now, this is post flashover. What happened to the post flashover? Because there are chances of partial or complete collapse of the structure. Now this is why. Because see, if post flashover situation is there, the temperature of that particular fire or even that surrounding area may be around 1000 degrees centigrade, so which is much high. And if you see still, because in almost all the infrastructure, all the structures, steel is used, and steel loses its one third of the strength at 600 degrees centigrade. Now this temperature is called critical temperature. So you can see at the temperature surrounding or in that particular fire is 1000. At 600 degree steel loses is one third of the strength. So what will happen? So again, it is a stability factor. So it may not be stable at 1000 degrees centigrade. So even a building withstand fire without any life losses, there will be monetary losses depending on the severity of fire. So that is also a part of property damage. Then if you talk about the direct losses from the fire hazard, so that includes property from burning, property damage due to water, from firefighting, then breaking of doors, windows, structural damage, and much more. And if we talk about the indirect losses, then again, because of repairs, loss of temporary and this permanent relocation, because suppose fire is there, then I don't think people can work there. Loss from demolishing structures, increasing insurance costs, and much more. I mean, this list is not complete list, but you can just think the indirect losses are much more than even the direct losses. Then about the environment, so it is very obvious that fire generates several environmental pollutants like means many particulates, hydrocarbons, then this polychlorinated means much more normally depending on the things which are burning, the material which are burning. So depends on that, and accordingly the pollutants will be there. So this pollution causes air contamination. Now there will be also water contamination because in firefighting, whatever water is used, and suppose the chemicals are there, that is a water contamination. Similarly, land contamination, this whatever deposited air and water contaminants are there, because of that there will be a land contamination. And the last consequence of the fire is reputation. The reputation may badly affect because of the fire incident depending on its severity, and it may loss of stakeholder confidence, credibility, the regulatory enforcement, etc. Now, just to tell you the example, what we discussed in the first few slides about the Surat fire. Now, that may be uh, to the coaching classes, but entire coaching classes around the world, around at least in India, now we lost the confidence on them because of only one incident. So that is what the reputation is. So this is about the result of fire. Now coming to the major fire safety measures, is whatever fire safety is required. So again, we are talking about fire prevention, and this is related to National Building Code again. So coming to fire prevention, now it is basically nothing but to remove one side of the triangle, and this is pertaining to design and construction of the building to avoid the fire to start. So what are the factors there? First one is fire in occupancy. Now, if you see National Building Code, uh, the the occupancy is very well classified there. Now you can see this one. This is a screenshot from National Building Code. What is Group A, Group B, up to Group J. Now, why it is important and why it is a part of fire prevention? See, for root cause, failure to identify and recognize or anticipate hazard, that is a major cause. Means we cannot identify the hazard, we cannot recognize the hazard, and even we recognize, we cannot properly anticipate the hazard. So that is the reason in National Building Code they have classified this occupancy so that at least we can know that what is the hazard there and how to restrict that. That's why the occupancy classification is there. Now almost all the codes have classified the occupancy on the similar manner based on their occupancy. So this is one important part, because in safety we always say that risk assessment is very important, and how we can assess the risk on the basis of their occupancy. Because and on the basis of occupancy, the requirement of overall fire safety management changes and depends on, means for example, maybe for residential it may be different, for business it is different. So that's why this is very important to classify the occupancy. Now, construction material. Now, it is also an important factor to prevent and further spread in preventing fire, then which may otherwise continue to property damage and loss of life, contribute to property damage and loss of life. So, if you see National Building Code, they have classified this construction type into four types. One is type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4, depending on their fire resistance property. What I meant to say is that type 1 construction is with very high fire resistance properties. So, as per National Building Code, the buildings which are maybe business building or any mercantile building. So only allowed is type 1 construction, not any other construction. That is a very important part. Then it is also mentioned that non-combustible material is expected to use construction of the building with certain fire rating depending on its use. Now, for example, maybe for the door, which is for the staircase, is for 2 hours. Maybe flat, it is only 30 minutes. So it depends on whatever, wherever we use that particular material. Then fire prevention, fire resistance rating. Now, what is fire resistance rating? We heard this definition or this term, fire prevention, that is fire resistance rating. What is that? If you see this, it is the time that material or construction will withstand fire exposure. Now, see, you must have seen that this fire resistance rating of this particular material is 120 by 120 by 120. You know what is that? So, if you see the first number, it is the stability of the element. This is for the load bearing element like load bearing walls, columns, and beam. So this is about the stability, where that particular structure, that material is stable or not. That is one. Second uh, number, that is this number, this 120 is number, this minutes. I'm sorry, I forgot that. This is 120 minutes by 120 minutes by 120 minutes. So the second 120 minutes is about the integrity of the material, that is ability to provide fire separation and prevent flames and hot gases pass to the elements. Yes, that is about the integrity of the material. The last 120 minutes is about the ability to maintain temperature on non-fire side. See, this is very important because fire is at one side and this fire resistance material is there. So it is expected that this temperature should not go to the non-fire side. We also call it as an insulation. So these are the three things which are expected from fire resistance rating material. Then separate service ducts. Now see, in any infrastructure, in any building, there are various building services like electrical wiring, telephone cables, and all those things. Now it is very clearly mentioned in National Building Code that it should be in the properly designed shaft only. Means we cannot just lay it down haphazardly. No, there should be proper shaft, and from the shaft they should be there. But now what happened? This vertical shaft is again allow the fire to spread because this fire is always spread vertically. So if the shaft is there and then proper care is not taken, then that is a way for fire to spread. So it is very clearly mentioned that for if it's electrical shaft, the fire rating should be 120. For other shaft, it may be 30 minutes. Now wiring running in the shaft should either be armored type or run through the metal conduits. So this is also important. Means it should not be a normal wiring because something has happened. Then it is very difficult to again control the fire. So from fire prevention point of view, whatever these wirings are expected is either armor type or if not, then it should be through metal conduits. All the openings should be filled with fire stop material having fire resistance of 120 minutes. Now, what does it mean? Just imagine there is a building, various floors are there, and if the electrical installation or electrical wiring is going through the entire building, there will be opening at each floor level. Now, if that opening is not properly sealed, then what will happen? The fire may be at the ground floor, but the smoke may be at the topmost floor. And it is very difficult then to understand the origin of fire. So we cannot attack the fire. So fire may spread. That's why it is very clearly mentioned that it should be sealed at every fire level, every floor level. This is very important from fire point of view. Electrical installations, then of course whatever rooms are used that should be properly ventilated. And in a building, this Uh, Dry substation is only allowed if it is oil. Suppose oil is there, then it is not allowed inside the building. It should be away by at least 7 meters from the building. And all designated this area which are designated for electrical installation should not be used for any other material, because normally it is observed that whenever the area is there, some place is there, then people is to dump the material there. So that is very unsafe. Because of that, there may be a fire and fire may spread. So that is very important point. Now, air handling units. Now, you might have heard that because of air handling unit, fire spread very quickly, because that's just like a shaft. That's again a way for fire to spread. So it is very common cause of spread of fire if it is not switched off in case of fire. So what is required? What is the measure for that? If first is separate AHU for each floor. Suppose there are multiple floors, separate AHU for each floor. The reason is that at least the fire will not spread. It will contain to that particular floor. Now within floor also separate AHU should be provided for each compartment. Now see, suppose the floor is very high, very long floor in terms of area. Then what? So as per National Building Code, it is very clearly mentioned that there should be a compartmentation of maximum. I'm sorry, it should be minimum 750 meters square area. Means suppose the area is less than 750 meters square, that is okay. But it is more than 750 meters square, then separate compartmentation should be provided. Then the damper should be provided so that it will contain within that 750 meter square area only. Then it should be interlocked with the smoke sensitive devices like detectors. How we will come to know that there is a fire? So normally there are fire detectors, smoke detectors. Now similarly for the air handling units, we provide these dampers, but how those dampers will activate? So those will get activated because they are interlinked with these detectors and other accessories as far as air handling units are there, for example, air filters. So that should be of non-combustible material. Then about the glass facade, you can see any building glass facade is there. So there is also a requirement for glass facade. It is very clearly mentioned that if the building is sprinklered, fire sprinklered, water sprinklered, then only glass facade is allowed. Otherwise, glass facade is not allowed. That is one point. The second point is again, if there is a chances of spread of fire through this glass facade, because this glass facade is outside the building, and suppose fire is there, the fire and the smoke will directly travel by using this glass facade. So again, similarly, like this shaft, every floor, this facade should be sealed so that there will be no vertical fire spread. Then openable panels are required for glass facade. You might have seen this because if the glass facade is there, some panels are open. So that is also a requirement, because if something has happened, then from the occupant point of view, people should get out from there. That is one point. Then evacuation is there. That is second point. And from external sources like fire brigade also, it is required because they can attack from there. The panels, openable panels are not there, then it is difficult to fight the fire for them. Gas pipes nowadays everywhere, even in residential areas now, this pipe gas PNG is used. So there is very clear cut requirement that it should run in separate shaft for exclusively for this purpose on the external wall and away from the staircases. See, again, the same case study, what we see earlier about the Surat. Now, that was not about the gas pipeline, but they put the combustible material of the banner on the staircase. So, this is again very clearly mentioned here. The pipe should not be sealed and always visible. Just imagine whosoever have this pipe natural gas at their residence. What we do, we try to hide that particular gas pipeline, but it is not safe as per NBC also and logically also. That it should be very clear, it should be visible so that something has happened, then we can take action on that. But we normally try to hide inside maybe false ceiling or cabinets and whatnot. And then it should be as short as possible. So we should the route of pipe natural gas or that particular gas pipeline as short as possible. Now about the life safety, this is very important. And uh, we covered this fire prevention point. This is not about the entire NBC. Let me be very clear because I'm trying to cover the maximum important, the most important areas of National Building Code. Now the next important area is life safety. Now it is pertaining to again the life safety measures in the event of fire, and that is what is most important, so that we can save the life. So this is again an important slide. Now the few things we should know that we always use the term exit, means of escape, staircase, but there is a definition for everything. Say we talk about means of egress. So it is not means of escape; it is a means of egress. Now, a means of egress is three parts are there. One is this exit. The other one is exit access, and the last one is exit discharge. Now, exit for us it is very clear. For example, our office is a build in a building. Then the staircase what we use is exit, but the area from where you are sitting up to the staircase entry. It's called exit access. And you must have heard the word for travel distance. Travel distance should be only 15 meters. It should not be more than that. So what is that? The travel distance is about the exit access. Wherever your workstation is, up to from that workstation to the the entry of the staircase is a exit access. Exit means again the for us it is a staircase. Travel distance is not related, is it is not an issue for exit. And the last one is exit discharge. What is exit discharge? It's the last portion of the staircase to the assembly point or public way. Means wherever you are supposed to go ultimately in case of fire. So that is what the exit discharge is. So I think there's three very important concepts are there, and that as a means from fire point of view, we should know this. Now, just these are just examples, but I think I covered this. Exit access means any aisles or corridors or balcony that is exit access. Exit means all staircases. Exit discharge means any egress code or protected areas, lobbies, vestibules, all those things. So these are the things. So these are three important aspects of the means of egress. Now the other important point is occupant load. Now why it is important? Because uh, if you see this, the occupant load is different for different type of occupancy. For uh, this residential building, it is different. As per National Building Code, it is 12.5 meter square per person. For commercial buildings, business building, it is 10. For mercantile building, shops, it is 6. Even assembly, for assembly, suppose a theater is there, then it is 0.65. So it depends on that, and on the basis of that, the other design factors are to be taken care. So it is the total number of person that might occupy the building or portion thereof at any time. It is directly related to evacuation process, because on the basis of that we can find out what are the number of exits, what should be the width of exit. All those things are designed on the basis of occupant load. So this is very important factor as far as life safety is concerned and National Building Code is concerned. Refuse area, you might have heard the word refuse area. So basically, it is a area where if people are unable to go down, then they can use this area till further assistance is there. Now, as per National Building Code, how much is the requirement? Is it should be after first after 24 meters and then after every 15 meters. So if this is you can see the picture, if this is the first refuge area, then this particular height is 24 meters. And then after that, every 15 meters that is required. Fire door assembly, an important concept. See, just I would like to tell you that this National Building Code is revised in 2016 and the earlier was 2005. So in 5, only it was mentioned that fire doors, but in 16 they have mentioned fire door assembly. You know why? What used to happen earlier was only this door was fire door, used to be fire door, but the entire assembly that is normal. So what is the use? Because if something is there, this will be a fire door, but the assembly is not, then it is of no use. So now they use the concept or they use a terminology fire door assembly. So these are there are two important things as far as the fire door is concerned. First is obviously it ensure instant evacuation of the occupant in case of emergency. It acts as a fire barrier in case of fire. And the most important thing is the fire barrier. Because of fire barrier, suppose the fire rating is 2 hours, then we have 2 hours time that fire will not come from non-fire means from fire side to non-fire side. Staircase, I think everybody is using staircase, but what is the requirement of staircase as far as National Building Code is concerned? The stairs are one of the most important components of the safe egress, and this is of course this plays an important role in building evacuations, since this is the only way still we have seen or heard about the evacuation lift and other things or lowering devices, fire escape chutes and other things, but still we believe on staircases. The requirement and number of staircases on the basis of occupant load factor, as I told you earlier, width of the person, travel distance, and all those things are important criteria for deciding the staircases. A building with higher risk areas means suppose it is maybe even commercial building, mercantile buildings, or very high rise building. So it is minimum requirement is 2 staircases. Now specific requirement for trade and rise. What is trade? When we use the staircase, the horizontal part is trade, the vertical part is rise. So this is also a clear requirement for trade. It should be 250 for residential, 300 for other buildings. For rise, it should be 190 for residential. For other, it is 150. And number of risers should be limited to only 12. After that, there should be landing. So it should not be more than 12. Staircases should be constructed non-combustible material and should not be used for any other purpose. Very important thing. It should not be used for maybe some keeping the outdoor units of the AC or even miss anything. It should not be there. That's all. Smoke management. The as we discussed earlier, smoke is the major culprit. So proper ventilation should be there. Now, if you see National Building Code, the terminology of pressurization is there. Now, what is this? The pressurization means suppose we cannot have the ventilation. Suppose just imagine that the building is in the core of the building. I'm sorry, the staircase is in the core of the building. Then we cannot have the ventilation. Now, this pressurization means there will be a mechanical pressurization so that in case of fire, the pressure of the staircase will be more as compared to the other area so that the smoke will not enter into the staircase and the people can escape safely. So that is the meaning or requirement of the pressurization. Even for the normal areas, the it is expected that now, for example, in the basement there are foams, the smoke extraction fan and all those things. So it is very clearly mentioned that there should be 12 air changes per hour. Means the design should be such that there should be 12 air changes per hour in case of fire. So the next point is compartmentation. Now, what is compartmentation? Because uh, to avoid the spread of fire, the most important is it should be compartmented within certain area. And for that, there may be a physical barrier, there may be a water curtain, there may be a fire resistance wall, so that it will not get sprayed after that. So that is the main purpose of compartmentation. Now, why it is required? It is because of for the human safety, loss of prevention, and quicker extinguishment. Now, it also slow down the spread of smoke and fire through barriers by cutting the airflow. Because if there is a physical compartmentation, then airflow will not be there, and automatically the fire will get extinguished. It is also good for firefighters also because it is a small area, so it can be controlled very easily. So normally, as per National Building Code, it should be 750 meters. It should not be more than that. If the area is more than that, it should be properly compartmented. So that is about the compartmentation detection system. So this is we also see this detection as a part of firefighting system, but detection is very important for life safety because it is not going to actually kill the fire, fight the fire. But what is the function of detection system is to tell the occupants that there is a fire, you have to leave the area. So that's why detection system is a part of life safety. Now, the next point is active fire protection system. Now, see, there are two things. One is active and the other one is passive. Now, what is active and what is passive? Active means it is actively participate in the firefighting. For example, simple, you must have seen fire extinguisher. It is an active fire protection system because it is actively participate in firefighting. But there is a passive fire protection systems also, which we cover somewhere earlier. For example, compartmentation is a part of passive fire protection because it is not directly fighting the fire, but indirectly it will control the fire. So that is an example of passive fire protection. So let us see what active fire protections are there. See, basically, we can divide this fire protection into three broad categories. First is first aid firefighting equipment. The other one is fixed water-based equipment, and the third one is non-water-based equipment. Now, what is first aid? See, it is first aid is very important. I will always suggest that this first aid firefighting equipments are the basic core of fire protection system because number one, this is for the initial stages only. Number two, it should be used by the occupants only because they are there. The fire is very small. If they know how to fight the fire, they can kill the fire at the very initial stage. So that's why this is very important. Now, fire extinguishers are a part of first aid equipment. Fire hose reel, the small hose reel, that is a part of equipment. Then fire buckets, you must have seen somewhere in theaters or in electrical installations. So that is a part of first aid equipment. Now coming to the fixed water-based equipment, what is that? Now you this hydrant system is there, sprinkler system is there. This is high velocity water spray for the transformers, medium velocity water spray for the big flammable tanks, foam systems. So these are various systems or which are means water based means where water is used. That is water based. Because non-water based means where water is not there. For example, CO2 system. Now in the server room, you must have heard about the FM200 that is getting flooded in case of fire or inert gases nowadays we are using, then all those things are non-fire, non-water based systems. So the requirement is very clearly mentioned in National Building Code. One table number 7 is there, and it is very clearly mentioned depending on the area, depending on the occupancy, depending on the height, what extinguishing media or active fire protection system is required, that is very clearly mentioned. Even the capacity of the pump, means what type of pump, what capacity pump should be installed. So everything is mentioned. So you can just refer this table number 7 of National Building Code. Now coming to the passive fire protection system. Now again, same thing. Active fire protection is, why it is active, as I already told you. It is used to put the fire, and it actively participate in extinguishing the fire. Now, this systems always need some form of trigger. Trigger means maybe anything. Maybe human being is required. Maybe for the sprinklers, the temperature is required. Maybe for some other things, the smoke is required. Some trigger is required for to initiate the system. That is the active fire protection system. Passive fire protection system, normally trigger is not required. It is passively participate in the firefighting. For example, fire doors. Now it is a part of passive fire protection also. Now suppose the fire door is there, then fire will not spread. So that is again, it will help with the fire. Then other parts, maybe fire retardant paint. You must have heard the name fire retardant paint. Suppose it is applied on the cables. What happen? Suppose there is a fire at one part of the cable, then fire will not get sprayed because of this fire retardant paint. Compartmentation, I already told you, some intumescent material is there. Now, I earlier we discussed about the spread of fire in the shaft. Now, this shaft should be sealed, but by using what? That is normally a intumescent material which, when exposed to heat, expands and seal the area and stop flame and smoke from passing through it. So this is a part of passive fire protection. So what I meant to say is, whatever is not actively participated, but it involved in fire, avoid means spreading the fire, avoiding the spread of fire. This is called passive fire protection system. So I think that's all from my side. Just to again tell you, this is only a hardware part. We have not covered the software part because normally everybody know that what should be done. Training is important, the procedures, all those things we know. But important thing is the hardware, which is very important, and we should take care of that. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and definitely for any queries, suppose we are there, we'll definitely address that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Suvek. It was a great session and a very enlightening one. I would like to know just a question that was coming to my mind. Like, we all have few fire fighters, like sprinklers or something like that, involved in our high-rise buildings. So I would like to understand: do they need any kind of maintenance, or they are active all the time? Like, after a year or so, do they need any kind of a cleaning, or they're good to go anytime there is a fire?
See, for everything, maintenance is required. Hence, it is not only about the fire protection system. Everywhere, the maintenance is very important. So normally, their maintenance does not mean that we need to open that, we need to clean that, nothing. But
Right.
from but it should be, it will be always there. If you see the entire fire protection system, water-based fire protection system, it is always charged with water. That the pressure gauge always show that this pressure. It is always charged, but it does not means, see, theoretically it should be charged, and it is charged. Practically, we should see whether it is normal, the pumps are okay, because ultimately the heart of every fire protection system is the fire pumps. Now, suppose the pumps are not working, then it is of no use. So I will not say directly maintenance, but regular checking of the system, and whatever minor servicing is required. That is always there, and that should
that
be
is
there.
required. Yeah, right. Also, one more thing, there are, like you said, National Building Code has suggested that there have to be two staircases in a building for fire escape. That is important. So is there any rule that they can be adjacent to each other, or they have to be in opposite directions, or is there any kind of a rule that suggests where these staircases can be there?
Yes, it is very clearly mentioned that they should be as remote as possible. Means it should not be just adjacent to that, because it is of no use then. So it should
Right.
be as remote as possible.
Very right. The fire system should be installed in, like in the case of fire, they could help and save the human life as well as property. Thank you so much, Mr. Suvek. It was a great session. We really enjoyed your session. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.